At the beginning of the drama, we see a girl named Shin waking up from her sleep after hearing the sound of a car. She looks out of her window, which she had covered with cardboard pieces, and sees a girl named Seon walking to school in front of her house. She also sees a red line passing over them. Seon's uncle, Juk, asks her to go with him, but she refuses. They then go their separate ways. After that, Shin sees another girl outside her apartment, over whom many red lines are passing. This girl has recently moved into the neighborhood. When the girl sees Shin, she waves at her, but Shin quickly closes her window. Shin eats at home, watches TV, and narrates that she has been able to see red lines since childhood. As she grew up, she began to understand their meaning. She also saw red lines on her father's head. We see her mother looking at a drawing that reveals her father's relationships with both her mother and her aunt. Enraged, her mother stabs her father with a knife. Shin witnesses the whole incident and believes that seeing red lines can lead to someone getting killed. Traumatized, she tries several times to end her life, by jumping off the roof, cutting her wrists, and hanging herself from a fan. But each time, she miraculously survives. Her wounds heal on their own, and it feels like something or someone is saving her. Eventually, she is left completely alone. Determined, she decides to find out what these red lines mean, who created them, who else can see them, and how to break the curse. While she is lost in thought, the doorbell rings. At the door is the same girl from earlier, trying to be friendly and saying she just moved in. Shin doesn't open the door, so the girl leaves some fruit for her at the doorstep. Shin eventually opens the door, takes the fruit, and eats it as if she hasn't eaten such food in a long time. Then we see Juk, Seon's uncle, arriving at the police station. While parking his car, he accidentally scratches his colleague Dong-sik's car. Inside, another officer teases him about fulfilling his duties as an uncle while handling stubborn teenagers. One colleague asks what will happen to his niece if Juk ever gets married. They all laugh. Juk is later seen getting close to a female colleague who invites him to her wedding, but he doesn't seem interested. At school, we see a girl named Kim Hae bullying Seon on the rooftop, accusing her of not bringing the money they asked for and possibly reporting them to the police. Seon denies it. Kim Hae slaps her and warns her not to think her uncle being a cop will save her. She also threatens to push her off the roof if she reports them again. Meanwhile, Juk arrives at a crime scene where a girl has been murdered. Dong-sik tells Juk that the victim's parents live far away, and they have no information about her partner. They investigate the home and notice many food delivery boxes in the clean kitchen. A neighbor tells them he saw a man wearing a helmet the night before, likely a food delivery guy. Dong-sik mentions there's no clear motive, no money stolen, no signs of assault. The victim didn't order food that day, which was unusual. In the next scene, Shin receives a delivery and watches TV news reporting on the same murder. She sees a man on TV wearing a helmet with a single red line above his head, a rare sight. She then sees the same man outside her building entering the opposite apartment. She rushes to charge her phone and calls the police, but as she watches the couple together, she realizes they're lovers and cuts the call. Suddenly, another red line appears over the man. Shin becomes anxious as red lines start appearing everywhere. The next day, Kim Hae sees Seon's empty seat and mocks her absence. They break into Seon's locker and find a love letter, which they read and laugh at. Later, Juk comes home and finds Seon, who asks him for money. He gives her some and promises more later. Noticing a bruise on her face, he asks what happened, but she coldly asks again how much money he can give her. Juk looks toward the apartment with cardboard-covered windows. He then receives a call about someone from that apartment reporting the helmet-wearing man. Juk knocks on Shin's door, saying he's a detective. Shin observes him and notes that she has never seen anyone with so many red lines. She doesn't open the door. A neighbor mentions that the girl never leaves her apartment and even someone else takes out her trash. Juk calls again and says she can share anything she saw. Shin finally opens the door and explains she mistook a man for someone dangerous. Juk asks about her schooling and her parents, but Shin quickly shuts the door. Later, a delivery guy with a single red line arrives. Shin watches from her apartment. The man looks toward her window, and the scene cuts off. Meanwhile, Seon receives a message from Kim Hae asking her to bring money to school. Seon sees a woman with cash and is about to snatch her bag but stops when people appear. She also notices her school bullies nearby. Juk and Dong Sik discuss the case. Dong reveals that the murdered woman's ex-boyfriend, Jong Min, is a schoolteacher who lives near Juk. Jong Min knew both murdered women. Juk sees his photo and realizes he's the man he saw near Seon's apartment. Juk later gets a call about his missing father and rushes to the hospital. He finds his father on the rooftop, and nurses manage to bring him down safely. Meanwhile, Dong Sik arrives at Jongmin's apartment and finds strange red paint on the walls. As he calls Juk, Jongmin appears and attacks Dong Sik, rendering him unconscious. Jongmin mutters, "Only one left now," puts on his helmet, and leaves. From her window, Shin sees him and is terrified. She grabs a knife and steps outside for the first time, but collapses at the bottom of the stairs. In her unconscious state, she sees a vision of her blood-covered mother reaching out to her. The girl across the street opens the door, expecting her boyfriend. But it's Jongmin. She's shocked and asks why he's there. Jongmin, who can see red lines too, tries to strangle her. Shin appears and pleads for him to stop. Jongmin mocks her and takes the knife, stabbing her. As he turns back to the girl, she pushes him, causing his glasses to fall. She rushes to help Shin. Jongmin panics without his glasses, but eventually finds them. Juk arrives and sees the killer in the building across the hall. Jongmin is about to stab the girl again when Shin stabs him in the leg. Jongmin pulls out the knife and prepares to stab Shin, but Juk fires a shot that hits him. As Jongmin dies, he mutters, "The red lines, they're disappearing." Shin hears this. Later, Shin receives treatment. Juk returns her glasses. She wonders if Jongmin could also see red lines and whether the glasses were the reason. Seon arrives and asks why Shin is wearing sunglasses at night. Juk asks if they know each other, but they remain silent. Later, Seon tells Juk that she and Shin were classmates in middle school. Her mother killed her father and ran away. Shin sits alone on the rooftop, remembering how the girl thanked her for saving her life. She realizes that seeing red lines can also help save lives. She removes her glasses and sees red lines everywhere. Just then, she receives a message from an unknown number saying, "I can see the world you are seeing. Come to Ark High School." The scene shifts to the introduction of a teacher named Gyujin, who teaches at the same school that Seon attends. Then we see Shin, looking at a message she received earlier. She begins removing the cardboard covering her windows and starts cleaning up her house. Next, we cut to Seon arriving at her classroom. As soon as she enters, she notices someone has drawn an obscene image of her on the board. Though clearly upset, she doesn't react and quietly goes to her seat. Meanwhile, her classmates laugh, and Kim Hae mockingly reads aloud a one-sided love letter that Seon had written, making fun of her. Enraged, Seon pushes Kim Hae off the bench to snatch the letter back. Kim Hae fights back and starts hitting her. That's when teacher Gyujin walks in, sees the chaos, immediately throws Kim Hae aside, and tears up the letter. Later, she speaks to Seon calmly, explaining that violence is never the answer, and warns her that if she continues to act out, even the teachers won't be able to defend her. But Seon, still furious, says she'll kill her and insists on going home. While leaving school, she finds a pair of glasses inside her locker. She picks them up, confused about how they got there. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the police station, where Detective Dong is furious with Juk for sending him alone to the killer's house. He barely escaped with his life. Juk apologizes, explaining there was an emergency. He's currently writing the report because he had to shoot the killer. As Juk re-examines the case files, Dong asks him why he's still digging. After all, the the killer is already dead. But Juk says something about the case still feels off. He can't understand the killer's motive or how he was connected to the victims. Dong speculates the man was just venting rage from failed relationships. They also discuss how the killer often talked about salvation, even though he was a math teacher and never seemed religious. Later, Juk visits Jong Min's home and notices the same red paint all over the walls, lines painted everywhere, which give him an eerie feeling. At the same time, Seon, now wearing the glasses, begins to see the same red lines. She's confused and terrified. When she returns home, she sees multiple red lines appearing on Juk's head, which horrifies her. She runs out of the house in panic. Outside, Shin sees her and is confused by Seon's behavior. As Seon walks down a crowded road, she sees even more red lines connecting people. The next day, Juk insists on walking her to school again, but when Seon looks at him and sees the red lines on his head, she refuses. She goes alone. At school, the glasses seem to give her a strange confidence. She begins seeing red lines on everyone's heads. That's when she notices that teacher Gyu-jin is the only one without red lines. She wonders, maybe the teacher has never been in a relationship? As Seon walks further, she sees her bullies again, with red lines clearly visible. But what shocks her the most is Kim Hae. One of the red lines from her head leads directly toward a classroom window. Seon follows it and is stunned to discover the other end of the line connects to a teacher from their school. That's when she realizes Kim Hae is in a relationship with a teacher. In the next scene, Gyu-jin introduces a new student to the class. It's Shin. She instructs her to sit at her desk. Seon looks at her, puzzled, wondering why she enrolled in this school. Back at the police station, Juk is looking at a poster from Jong Min's former school when something clicks. He suspects the glasses. He checks the evidence box, but the glasses are missing. So he visits the school, where he meets teacher Gyu-jin. She asks how she can help. Juk introduces himself as a detective and says he's there for a few questions. Gyu-jin says, "Aren't you Seon's father?" Juk quickly corrects her. He's her uncle. They sit and talk. Gyu-jin tells him that Seon hasn't been doing well in school and he should be more aware. Juk apologizes, saying he's been busy and hasn't given her enough attention. But he clarifies he's actually there regarding a murder investigation. He asks her about Jong Min, saying he used to be a math teacher there until last year and was recently exposed as a serial killer. Gyu-jin is shocked. Juk asks if Jong Min always wore glasses. She replies no. She never saw him wearing any. On the school rooftop, Kim Hae slaps Seon, knocking off her glasses. Seon picks them up and puts them back on. As Kim Hae is about to strike again, Seon grabs her hand and firmly says she's done giving her money. Kim Hae mocks her, asking if she's no longer ashamed. Seon replies calmly that it's Kim Hae who should feel ashamed. Furious, Kim Hae kicks her and yells, "Then tell me what I should be ashamed of." Just then, Shin arrives and tells her to stop. Kim Hae snaps, asking if they're together, and tries to attack Shin. But Shin grabs her tie and says coldly, "Let's both jump together." Kim Hae is startled and visibly shaken. She promises to stop and mutters, "Crazy woman," as she walks away. Afterward, Seon coldly asks Shin why she helped. Shin asks if she's still mad at her. Seon responds, "Why would I be mad? Just don't interfere in my business," and walks away. As Juk is about to leave the school, Gyu-jin asks if he'll meet Seon. Juk refuses, saying she'd freak out if she found out he came. Gyu-jin seems intrigued by Juk. As he leaves, Seon sees him and wonders what he's doing there. Later, Juk visits a bar that Jong Min used to frequent. He shows the bartender a photo, saying he's investigating a case. The bartender recalls Jong Min as a regular, often alone, muttering as if counting something. He once got into a fight after laughing and saying, "That's a lot of lines," while staring at someone's head. Back in the present, Juk writes this all in his diary. The bartender adds that Jong Min used to wear glasses. Elsewhere, Seon follows Kim Hae and records a video of her meeting the teacher and entering a hotel. She sends Kim Hae the photo. But Kim Hae isn't fazed. Inside the hotel, she casually asks the teacher what he'd do if people found out. He dismisses her concern. Meanwhile, Seon waits outside. Then Kim Hae messages her, "If anyone gets punished, it'll be the teacher, not me. I'm still a minor." The next day, teachers discuss a scandal about a female teacher and male student. They warn each other not to get involved with students. The same teacher dating Kim Hae jokes that no student would ever like him. Just then he receives a message. It's the same photo Seon sent. The message demands 20 million won. Later, Shin and Seon walk home. Seon says she wants to move away. She doesn't like living here. Shin reminds her she has family, her uncle, but Seon replies that she doesn't consider him family. Seon asks if Shin's mother is alive. Shin says she doesn't know. Seon comments that if she were, she would have contacted her by now. Shin reflects on this. That night, Shin watches a happy family from her window while she sits in silence. Meanwhile, the teacher who was blackmailed grows increasingly paranoid. He asks Gyu-jin about Seon. Gyu-jin says she seems okay, but the teacher insists he wants to talk to her himself. Later, Seon and Shin are in the restroom. Seon removes her glasses. Shin asks if she's always worn them. Seon lies, saying she recently needed them. Shin picks up the glasses and asks, "Do you see anything strange when you wear them, like red lines?" That's when Seon realizes Shin can see them too. To confirm, she asks how many red lines are on her head. Shin says 1, and accurately describes the red lines on others. She asks where Seon found the glasses. Seon hesitates, then admits she found them in her locker. When Seon asks for the glasses back, Shin hesitates and warns her that the serial killer wore the same kind of glasses. But Seon doesn't care. She grabs them and walks away. Later, the blackmailed teacher becomes increasingly nervous. He tries to talk to Gyu-jin about Seon, but she assures him she'll handle it. As Seon heads home, Shin follows her. Seon asks how to erase red lines. Shin remembers how the red line between her parents disappeared after her mom killed her dad, but doesn't share this. She asks instead if Seon plans to keep the glasses. Seon says yes, she plans to use them fully. In the next scene, Seon is with her boyfriend when she gets a message from the teacher asking to meet her on the rooftop. He has the money ready. As she leaves, Kim Hae, who had overheard her talk with Shin earlier, follows her. While Seon is distracted, Kim Hae steals her purse. Later, Seon discovers the glasses are missing and panics. We then see Kim Hae wearing them, now able to see red lines. Suddenly, someone pushes her from behind. The scene cuts. Seon, thinking Shin stole them, angrily calls her. Shin is confused. Seon says she's heading to school and hangs up. At the school rooftop, Seon finds the teacher waiting. She realizes Kim Hae must have told him everything. The teacher begs her not to go through with this. Seon laughs and demands money. He pleads, he has a family, he'll lose everything. But Seon reminds him he ignored her being bullied and did nothing. Just then he gets a message. The photos were already sent to his wife. He accuses Seon. She replies coldly, "What are you talking about?" The teacher snaps and yells. Meanwhile, Shin runs toward the school. Suddenly, Seon falls from the rooftop, right in front of Shin. She dies instantly. At that very moment, the red line above her disappears. The next scene picks up right where the previous one ended, making it seem like Kian might have died, but she's actually still alive. Shin rushes her to the hospital, clearly frightened. Kian is immediately taken into the operating room while Shin waits outside. Just then, Juk arrives, extremely worried. He asks Shin what happened and why Kian was at school so late. Shin explains that Kian had called her, saying she was heading to the school, so she went looking for her. Beyond that, she doesn't know much and is still in shock. Juk starts crying, and Shin quietly tells him one thing. She knows for sure, Kian would never attempt suicide. The next day at school, the principal is furious. He demands to know why Sunjin hasn't come to school or answered his phone. This is the same teacher who was having an affair with Kim Hai. The principal also scolds the rest of the teachers, blaming them for their students' lack of discipline. If students want to jump, why not jump from somewhere else, he says, cruelly shifting all blame onto the students. At that moment, one of the teachers stands up and yells back, questioning how the principal can put all the blame on the students. She says the entire school staff should take responsibility for what happened. An argument breaks out between the teachers. Meanwhile, a female teacher named Mizong drops her things. The music teacher helps her, and they exchange an awkward glance. Shin enters the classroom where some students are gossiping. They say Kim Hai hasn't been coming to school either, and joke that school must have become boring for her after Kian's fall. Elsewhere, Gyujin is blaming herself for what happened, since Kian was from her class. But another teacher tells her it's not her fault. Teacher Jang Woo also mentions that Kian had previously reported being bullied. Later, another teacher asks Jang Woo if he's proposed to his girlfriend or if he's getting married soon. Jang Woo replies that he's not getting married, which shocks everyone. He then visits his sister's house and spends time with her and his niece. While they talk, his sister asks why he's quitting teaching and moving to Canada. Jang Woo avoids the question and instead asks about her husband. His sister says he's always working and rarely at home, but she'll try to arrange a meeting. Jang Woo glances at the family photo on the wall. Meanwhile, Juk is by Kian's hospital bedside, visibly distraught. Shin watches him silently. Later, Shin visits the spot where Kian fell, examining the area. A girl named Kyung-jin approaches and asks if she's looking for evidence. Kyung-jin says she doesn't believe Kian attempted suicide and suspects Kim Hai, who has also stopped coming to school. Shin asks who she is, and Kyung-jin replies that she's from class 5. Despite being younger, she shares a lot of details about the case and says Kian had recently made a lot of new friends. Shin interrupts her and says, "You shouldn't talk like that. Kian is still alive." Kyung-jin falls silent. Just then the class president, Junian, walks by. Shin stops him and takes his glasses, wearing them to check if she can see red lines, but nothing appears. They're just regular glasses. She asks how long he's been wearing them, and Junian says since last year due to vision problems. Shin realizes they're not those glasses and walks away. Later, Jang Woo finds a pair of glasses on his desk and asks Gyujin if she knows whose they are. Gyujin takes the glasses, examines them strangely, and says no, they must be his since they were found at his desk, and they suit him. Jang Woo puts them on and suddenly begins to see red lines, leaving him shocked and confused. At that moment, Juk enters, and Jang Woo sees multiple red lines on his head. Alarmed, he tries to act normal. Outside, Juk and Gyujin talk. Gyujin apologizes, saying she should have been more careful. Juk asks her directly if she believes Kian really attempted suicide, since that hasn't been confirmed yet. Gyujin avoids giving a direct answer, but promises to help however she can. Juk then asks her about the students who used to bully Kian. Gyujin replies that even Kim Hai's whereabouts are unknown, which raises Juk's suspicion further. He then shows her a photo of Kian with a boy and asks who he is. In the next scene, Juk meets this boy, Kian's boyfriend, and questions him. The boy responds rudely, denying any relationship at first. But when Juk shows him the photo, he admits they were dating. He explains that Kian had become strange lately and started acting differently. She was the one who approached him first. On the day of the incident, after taking a photo together, Kian suddenly became distressed, as if something was missing, and ran off like a mad person. Juk checks the school CCTV footage and sees a girl stealing Kian's bag and walking toward the park. Later, Jang Woo is having dinner with his sister and brother-in-law, Byung Cho. With the glasses still on, Jang Woo sees red lines between them, especially multiple red lines coming from Byung Cho. During dinner, Byung casually asks Jang Woo why he cancelled his wedding. Jang Woo explains that after 6 years of dating, he caught his fiancée in bed with his best friend, so he ended things. Byung Cho agrees that he made the right decision, but his sister looks uncomfortable. The topic is dropped quickly. Later, Jang Woo and Byung Cho go down in the elevator. While Byung is distracted on his phone, Jang Woo watches the red line from his brother-in-law's head moving between floors. Byung Cho presses the 4th floor by mistake, then changes it to the 10th. Jang Woo secretly presses the 4th again. When they step out on the 4th floor, Jang Woo sees that Byung Cho's red line leads directly to another apartment unit. As Jang Woo tries to get a better look, Byung Cho stops him and says, "You've had too much to drink." At the police station, Juk Superior orders him to close Kian's case and file it as a suicide due to pressure from the school and higher-ups. But Juk refuses, saying it hasn't been confirmed and insists on continuing the investigation. "Would you still do this if it were someone close to you?" he asks, before walking away angrily. Meanwhile, Jang Woo continues seeing red lines at school. Gyujin remarks that the glasses suit him. Jang Woo asks her, "What would you do if you found out someone close to you was having an affair?" Gyujin replies playfully, "First, I'd make sure of what I'm seeing. Then I'd just enjoy the drama like a soap opera," and laughs. Later that day, Jang Woo returns home with his sister and niece and sees a package at the door. It's addressed to apartment 401, not their unit. Jang Woo decides to return it personally. As he enters the elevator, Jang Woo remembers that his brother-in-law's red line had led directly into the same apartment. He leaves the package at the door. Just then, a woman comes out of the elevator. She lives in that apartment, and is on the phone saying, "Did you send this package? Is this yours?" She enters the apartment while Jang Woo silently watches everything. That night, Jang Woo and his sister are performing rituals for their late mother's death anniversary. After the ceremony, they sit down to eat together. Jang Woo asks when her husband will be coming home, and she replies that he's very busy and won't be back for 2 to 3 days. They continue chatting warmly, but then his sister says something emotional. She wishes she could have performed these same rituals for their late father too. Hearing this, Jang Woo becomes upset. He asks how she can still stay in contact with their father's second family. His sister tries to explain that things were different back then, but Jang Woo insists that their father cheated on their mother, left her, and went to live with his mistress. Their mother was devastated. He's even more disturbed knowing that his sister still keeps in touch with that other family. He opens up, saying he still loves his ex-girlfriend, but whenever he sees her, he sees their father's face in hers. Even after their father's death, he feels haunted by him. After this emotional conversation, his sister says nothing more and both of them cry. The next day at school, news about the affair between Kim Hae and the teacher has spread because someone leaked a photo online. Students gossip about it even during class. Meanwhile, in the parking area, Juk is investigating the same teacher's apparent suicide. The teacher left a note saying he was deeply ashamed of his inappropriate relationship with a student and couldn't bear the humiliation, so he took his own life. But Juk is suspicious. The car was perfectly parked in the middle of the space, and the body had been there for 3 days. Juk questions why someone who intended to die would go to the trouble of parking neatly. He starts to suspect foul play. Elsewhere in school, Kyung-jin asks Junien, the class president, if he'll join her and Shin for lunch. Junien agrees surprisingly quickly, shocking Kyung-jin. As the three of them walk together, Juk, who is sitting in his car, asks Shin to come over and talk. Kyung-jin misunderstands and starts arguing with him, accusing him of trying to kidnap them and even threatens to call the police. That's when Juk shows his police ID and coolly says, "No need. I've already called the police. They're here," mocking her. Inside the car, Juk asks Shin why Kian came to school that night. He reminds her that she said it wasn't suicide and asks if she knows something. Shin avoids the question and instead asks Juk if he's seen Kian's glasses. Confused, Juk asks which glasses she means. Shin tells him to find the glasses first, then she'll tell him more. She leaves without saying anything else. Later, Jang Woo is seen following Jang Cho. He tails him to a restaurant and watches as he sits with a woman from apartment 401, giving her a gift. Jang Woo calls Jang Cho and asks where he is. Jang Cho lies, making an excuse and saying he'll call back later, then hangs up. We then see Jang Cho in a hotel room with the same woman. Jang Woo arrives at the hotel, walking through the corridor where he sees multiple red lines. He rings the doorbell. When Jang Cho opens it, Jang Woo grabs him and begins beating him. He gives him a harsh warning: "You must end everything today itself. You have until tonight. After that, I don't know what I might do." Then he storms off in rage. The next day, Jang Woo prepares to leave the country. Before he departs, he visits his sister to say goodbye and asks if Jang Cho has contacted her. She says no, he's probably just busy and will call when he can. Jang Woo then goes to school to pack his things, where he runs into Gyujin. She asks if his problems have been solved, and Jang Woo replies, "No, I'm not sure yet." He then asks if she's seen Kim Hai or knows who uploaded the photo. Gyujin says she hasn't seen Kim Hai and assumes a student must have posted it online. Jang Woo then scrolls through the social media of the girl Jang Cho was having an affair with. He spots the same necklace Jang Cho had gifted her. Then he notices a post announcing that she's pregnant. Furious, Jang Woo rushes to his sister's house. She hasn't been answering her phone. When he arrives, he sees a crowd outside. A car has crashed into another vehicle. The pregnant girl is also present, anxiously asking someone to call the police. It's her car that was hit. Jang Woo sees his sister in the crashed vehicle and quickly pulls her out. Just then, Jang Cho arrives, but instead of running to Jang Woo's sister, he rushes to the pregnant girl, comforting her and checking if she's okay. Seeing this, Jang Woo loses control and attacks Jang Cho. The two fight violently as his sister begs them to stop. Jang Cho leaves the scene with the pregnant woman. Jang Woo's sister then reveals the shocking truth. Jang Cho is not actually her husband. He's the pregnant woman's real husband. She confesses that she was the mistress all along. Jang Cho had only come to her that day because he was afraid she might hurt his real wife. Jang Woo is stunned. His sister explains that the last time Jang Cho called, it was to end everything and say he had chosen his real family because his wife was pregnant. He wanted to break things off. But in a fit of anger and betrayal, she went there intending to harm the woman. Just then, Jang Woo's niece comes running out and says, "Mom." Jang Woo quickly hugs her and stops her from going any further, shielding her from the painful scene. In the next scene, Juk is staring at the suicide note left by the teacher and suddenly remembers something. He rushes home and begins searching Kian's room for clues. Meanwhile, Shin is walking home and notices a job poster for a motel on the way. When Shin gets home, she finds Juk sitting with a diary in his hand. He shows it to her, saying, "This is what you were talking about, right? The one related to Kian's glasses." Inside the diary are strange drawings. Juk asks what Kian used to see with those glasses. Shin replies quietly, "With those glasses, she could see the S-line." Shin reveals that the glasses allow people to see the S-line, the red lines that represent hidden romantic or physical relationships. She adds that she's been able to see these lines since birth, even without glasses. Juk is skeptical and accuses her of making a mockery of the police. But Shin responds calmly, saying she knew he wouldn't believe her. As she turns to walk away, Juk stops her and says he actually does believe her. He then asks whether someone pushed Kian off the rooftop to steal the glasses, and if she knows who made them. Shin replies that even she doesn't know their origin. However, she's certain of one thing: Kian didn't try to commit suicide. She had been using the glasses to blackmail people by exposing their secrets. Many had a reason to hate her. Juk suddenly realizes how difficult life must be for Shin if she's always been able to see these red lines. That's when he understands why she wears sunglasses, even at night. Shin quietly confirms it. Later, we see Shin watching over Kian in the hospital. As she observes her, the red line on Kian's head begins to fade. Then suddenly, Kian opens her eyes. Shocked, Shin wakes up abruptly. She had dozed off in class. The other students, including Junian, notice her startled reaction. At lunch, Shin sits with her new friends. Junian asks if she's alright, noting how she shouted in class. Kyung-jin chimes in, teasing her about being weak, and suggests she should go out over the weekend to relax. When Shin refuses, Kyung-jin presses further, and Shin eventually reveals she has a part-time job. Surprised, Kyung-jin asks where she works, and Shin answers, at a hotel. In the next scene, Mizong is working at her office. She's wearing the red line glasses too, and seems anxious. After being scolded by a senior for a mistake, she returns to her desk and begins clicking her stapler repeatedly, not on paper, just as a coping mechanism. Later in the cafeteria, her colleagues ask about her hometown and comment that her accent doesn't match it. Mizong explains that she's working on neutralizing her accent because she dreams of becoming an actress. Just then, the music teacher walks by, and the group starts gossiping about how handsome he is and whether he has a girlfriend. Mizong smiles, clearly infatuated, but hides her feelings. Meanwhile, Juk and Dong-sik discuss Kian's case. They suspect Kim Hai may have stolen the glasses and fled. They also consider the teacher as a suspect but recall he had a fear of heights, making it unlikely he pushed Kian. Dong-sik wonders if it really was a suicide, but Juk isn't convinced. Kian's personality completely changed after getting the glasses. He starts to believe there may be something supernatural about them. Just then, their senior officer enters. The two detectives quickly flip the whiteboard to hide the details. They've been investigating the case off the record. Later that day, Mizong shows up at the hotel where Shin works, completely transformed in appearance. While Shin is on duty, Kyung-jin suddenly arrives at the counter to surprise her. Shin nervously tells her that it's illegal for minors to be there. Kyung-jin retorts that Shin is also a minor working illegally. Eventually, the three friends, Shin, Junian, and Kyung-jin, sit together. As they talk, Mizong arrives at the counter and books room 206. Kyung-jin peeks through the curtain and is stunned. She recognizes Mizong from school. She tells the others that Mizong works in the school's administrative office. But she looks like a completely different person here. They also note that Mizong recently started wearing the glasses. Inside her hotel room, Mizong practices dramatic acting monologues in front of a mirror. She says, "I've had relationships with many men, but ever since he entered my life, I can't be with anyone else." She's clearly talking about the music teacher. Her tone becomes increasingly obsessive, showing her deep, unstable fixation on him. The next morning, the friends are on the school rooftop. Kyung-jin spots Mizong and points her out again. Shin notices a red line on Misang's head. Later, Mizong returns to her tiny apartment, where she puts on the glasses and looks outside, seeing a web of red lines all around, signs of secret relationships between people. Meanwhile, Juk reviews the murder file related to Shin's parents. He learns that Shin's mother discovered her husband was cheating with her own sister. She learned this from a drawing young Shin had made. Afterward, Shin's mother stabbed her father. Juk finds a photo of Shin with her mother and recalls something from Shin's house, reinforcing his belief in her story. Later, Juk visits Kian in the hospital and asks Shin if she saw a red line on Kian's head. Shin refuses to answer, saying it's personal. Juk reads between the lines and concludes that there was one. He asks if it was connected to Kian's boyfriend. Shin replies, no, and not even with anyone else in the class. She then asks Juk if he thinks the person connected to Kian's red line might be her attacker. Juk agrees. That night, Shin watches the news. A murder case is reported where the killer was caught quickly. But what grabs her attention is that the killer was wearing the same type of glasses. She realizes there might be multiple people using these glasses. At school, Mizong heads to the music teacher's room and compliments him. They sit together and listen to music. He calls her a beautiful star, and she beams with happiness. When he asks about her dreams, she tells him to guess. He correctly says she wants to be an actress. She looks in the mirror and sees both of them have red lines. In her mind, she imagines a line connecting them, symbolizing the relationship she desperately craves. Later, Junian invites Shin to a quiet swimming pool. He says it's a place he visits alone, and he figured she'd enjoy the peacefulness. As they wade into the water, he asks if she can swim. Shin says no, then suddenly dives in. Underwater, she feels peaceful, almost free. But Junian panics and jumps in to pull her out. For the first time, we see Shin truly smile. Later, he lends her his jacket, and they eat instant noodles together. Shin begins to open up. She tells him she's been able to see red lines since she was a child. Junian asks if there's a red line on his head. Shin says, no. None of you, Kyungjin or you, have red lines. Junian asks, do you think I believe you? Then answers himself, yes. Because why would you lie? You don't gain anything from it. And besides, you're extraordinary. Shin is touched. That night, she looks at his jacket and begins to realize she's starting to like him. When she looks in the mirror, she suddenly sees a red line on her own head, indicating that she now has feelings for Junian. Meanwhile, at the police station, a woman is being questioned. When she sees Juk, she greets him warmly as though they already know each other. Juk brushes her off and walks away. Before leaving, she says she'll call him later. Dong-sik jokingly asks if she's his ex, but Juk doesn't answer. Later, Dong-sik teases Juk again, asking if he's dating anyone. You're so busy, I doubt you even have time for a relationship, he jokes. Juk smiles faintly and says there's someone he's curious about, but it's not like that. I don't want to sleep with her, he says quietly. Later, Mizong returns to the same hotel and once again books the same room. As Shin walks past the room, she hears the same lines Mizong had practiced earlier, about being with many men, but since meeting him, no one else feels right. Curious, Shin listens closely at the door. Inside, Mizong is standing in front of the mirror, repeating those same lines. She begins talking to herself, saying how comfortable she feels in this room where she can say anything she wants. She remembers that on her first day at the hotel, she found a pair of glasses, after which she started seeing the red lines. She discovered a hole in the wall through which she could peek into the next room, and she had watched people being physically intimate through it. Suddenly, she hears someone enter the neighboring room. She looks through the hole and sees it's the music teacher. Mizong is overjoyed, until his girlfriend, a famous actress, enters behind him. Misang's expression darkens. The music teacher and the actress become intimate. Mizong notices that he has only one red line, connected to the actress, while the actress has several red lines on her head. Later the actress leaves, saying, "Let's meet again here tomorrow." Mizong is left furious. She rips off her wig, changes back to her normal appearance, heads downstairs to extend her stay, and pays for the room. As she goes back upstairs, Shin notices a red line on Misang's head. The next day, Mizong prepares a drug drink. When the actress arrives at the hotel corridor, Mizong attacks her from behind, knocks her unconscious, and drags her into a room. Then, Mizong puts on the actress's clothes and goes to the music teacher's room. The teacher is startled and recognizes her from work. He asks what she's doing there. Mizong starts confessing her feelings, repeating the same dramatic monologue about how she's been with many men but can't feel anything for anyone else since meeting him. The teacher grows uncomfortable, backs away, and calls her crazy. Mizong laughs in a chilling, unhinged way while holding a stapler. As the teacher turns to leave, she hits him from behind. Unknown to him, she had already slipped drugs into his drink earlier. Later, Mizong is seen in bed with him, emotionally euphoric and obsessed. But then she notices blood coming from his head and panics. It won't stop bleeding. The stapler wound had been worse than she thought. Instead of helping him, Mizong becomes physically intimate with him. Eventually, the teacher dies. Afterward, Mizong locks herself in the bathroom, devastated. She begins harming herself with the same stapler, making herself bleed. Meanwhile, Shin walks down the hotel corridor when suddenly the unconscious actress stumbles out of the room crying for help. Shin runs to her aid. The actress says that a crazy woman attacked her, stole her clothes, and locked her inside. She doesn't know where the woman went. Shin enters the room across the hall and is shocked to find the dead body of the music teacher lying on the bed. The police soon arrive and begin their investigation. Juk examines Miss Ang's body and asks the officers if they found the glasses. They tell him that no glasses were recovered at the crime scene. Outside, Juk talks to Shin, who is visibly shaken. He asks her if she saw any red lines on the people involved. Shin replies that Mizong had a red line on her head, but it wasn't connected to the music teacher. Juk asks if she believes this case is related to the glasses. Shin nods, saying Mizong was definitely wearing the same cursed glasses they've been looking for. She also explains that Mizong was a completely different person at the hotel than she was at school. No one is exceptional, Shin warns. Keeping those glasses is dangerous. Later, Juk goes to the hospital and visits Cen. He recalls Shin's warning, how dangerous the glasses truly are. Determined, Juk returns to the hotel room. In the bathroom, he drains the bloody water from the tub. Beneath the water, he finds the glasses. When he picks them up and puts them on, he looks in the mirror, and suddenly sees dozens of red lines crisscrossing everywhere. What he sees shocks and terrifies him. And with that, this episode ends. If you want to know what happens next, give us 500 likes, and we'll make part 2. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.